Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Canadian Immigration Live Q&A. I'm your host, Mark Holthe. It has been probably 2 weeks since we did the last one. I traveled to Tennessee last Wednesday to attend an intensive business coaching seminar, and it unfortunately prevented me from going live last Wednesday, so my apologies for that. But welcome, everybody. Welcome to this new updated session on basically answering your questions about immigration. I am Mark Holthe. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer, if you do not already know that. And I've been doing this probably for about 4 years. Now, you guys are the reason this exists. It was created purely to give assistance and direction. And I'll give you guys a little bit of feedback for those of you who are tuning in after, well, maybe for the first time, or it's been a long time since you've tuned in. Obviously, there's been a lot of confusion as to what the future holds for permanent residents in Canada. And a lot of my followers have been express entry candidates, which right now things have stalled out a little bit. And but in the beginning, it was all to help express entry candidates. That's why I started it. In fact, this was the express entry live Q&A, but now we've expanded it to the immigration Q&A, and I'm pulling in my other lawyers in the firm to help me as we do our very best to answer your questions about immigration. So the whole purpose was really, it was express entry that started it. And why? Because I was seeing so much information that was being shared that was just wrong. People were coming to me after they'd followed information that they've read on some WhatsApp group or, or a forum or whatever online. And they were coming to me and there was nothing I could do because their applications were getting refused. So I realized, I'm telling these people the same thing over and over and over again. So why don't I just do videos and start pushing them out to a YouTube channel? Originally it was Facebook, but Facebook sucks. And even our courses now, I'm moving away from private Facebook groups to our own community groups that are linked to each masterclass, which is a nice segue into the fact that the next express entry masterclass is actually starting on Monday. And I now have CPD accreditation for immigration consultants. There's 5 hours that are available of CPD credit, all focused on express entry. So make sure that you slide over. Let's see if we've got it right here. And if you click here, see all your courses, the link is below. You can see the express entry course launches on March the 14th. And there is also a spousal sponsorship one that's launching the week after. And I'm in the process of getting accreditation for that one as well. So I'll keep you posted as we move forward with these ones, but I just wanted to let you guys know. So it all started with express entry and with a desire to try to help people avoid the most common problems I was seeing over and over and over again. Flash forward to today. Now we have the Canadian Immigration Institute. And if you look at the channel today, we're not doing bad. And yes, I am pushing this out to YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, but this is really where it's the easiest to find and search these videos for whatever content you want. So this is where you can go. You'll see tomorrow, Alicia and I are going live. And I want to give you guys a little plug for something that's coming next Thursday. So not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, I'm having LJ come. And all of you that are looking at, hey, is studying in Canada an option? You'll remember that I did with LJ, with Lou, I did a video on my Immigration Nation channel on the YouTube right here. It will also be broadcast, like I said, to all the channels. But we did one on the approval and rejection rates for countries across the world. Well, Lou has got data for the schools. And I got myself into a little bit of trouble because I had made some comments about some schools in Quebec, and I know some of them are actually shut down now, but some of these private schools. But Lou actually has approval ratings by school. And not all schools are created equally. So stay tuned, because on Thursday, I haven't posted it. Make sure you go back here. This is why it's so important for you guys to actually subscribe to the channel. So if you have not done that yet, go here, subscribe to the channel. And then when we have videos like this one right here, you can set a reminder so that you're notified the moment it goes live so you don't miss it. So next week, it will be at 2:30 or 1:30. It's a blur. Maybe it's 1:30. It'll be in the afternoon next Thursday, and Lou is going to share all of the data that he's obtained through an accessed information. This isn't stuff he's created. So stay tuned for that, because that is something that you guys are not going to want to miss. It's going to be awesome. Okay. All right. So thanks for tuning in. I know, because when we drop off and when we have a little bit of a break in the videos that we do, then people are wondering, well, is Mark actually going to go live? Is he still going to do this? So I can see we don't have as many live followers as we usually do on all of our channels, but that's okay, because today this is all about, and it looks like everybody that's tuning in right now and posting comments like the Surah. I'm doing awesome. Looks like everybody's on YouTube. So we'll have to see. Oh, I stand corrected. We have someone here. This Facebook user is over on the Express Entry Law Private Facebook group. And that's why it's just generic Facebook user. But you said, I'm so worried about not having enough points for CEC. Do you think it will skyrocket? We do not know for sure how this is going to play out. There's tons of speculation. People that were in the pool are going to be dropping out because their profiles are going to expire. They're going to have to go back in. There is right now with the minister, we're still waiting to hear what his plan is for issuing another moratorium, not moratorium, but another special program to extend the work permit. So I'll talk about that as well today. Today, I want to spend a lot of time, because we didn't get a chance to do one last week, neither myself nor Alicia. So I want to spend a lot of time answering all of your questions. But there's a couple announcements that I do want to make. And one thing we can't ignore is what's happening in the Ukraine. So as the Canadian Bar Association, we have set up a pro bono initiative that I'm super, super proud of. The lawyers that have been working hard to set this up, the working groups that we formed are just phenomenal. And so this is where people can get free help. And so there's a list of law firms, and this is growing. So volunteer lawyers right here, you can see, and I'll make sure that I put a link in the description here on the YouTube channel. After we finish this live stream today, I'm going to make sure that right in this link here in the description for this live today, I'll put a link to this. But all you need to do is just search CBA, the Canadian Bar Association Ukraine Initiative, or something like that. So you can see here all the information that you need. If you know of anyone that's in this situation, you can get free help with what's going on in this crisis. And so the CBA immigration law section is spearheading this initiative. And like I said, it's designed to help people in crisis. And it includes legal consultations and advice for those seeking to take advantage of IRCC's facilitative initiatives and programs to bring eligible Ukrainian nationals to Canada. And so the details are of the IRCC programs are right on this site right here. And you can go here and you can look, and they've got a number of initiatives that they're looking at. We don't have all the details, so I won't be able to provide a lot of details at this stage. But they give a general overview and, what constitutes immediate family and things like this. Right now we have spouses and dependent children that are included in here, but there is more information that's going to be coming. So make sure that you bookmark this page here on the IRCC site. But here's two more quick little references. So request pro bono assistance. All you have to do is click on this link right here, and it will take you to the form where you can request assistance. Select which lawyer you want to deal with. You'll see right here, Alicia is our point person for our form, for our contact with our firm. So if you have any questions or anything related to the Ukraine crisis and you need help, this is pro bono, completely free services that we are offering. And like I said, when it comes to let's see here, we go back one more. Hopefully it's a let us in here. When it goes back to this initiative, you can see the list of volunteer lawyers are here. And so, and this is growing. This will be growing. Alicia, like I said, she is the point contact for us, but our whole firm is pitching in. Susan, myself, Igor, everybody. And you can see there's other lawyers there. Obviously, with Igor, we have the ability to communicate in Ukrainian and Russian, however it applies. But you can see these are some of the other lawyers that are on this list that have volunteered their time. All right, and it will grow as well. So you can choose depending on your region where you're at. You can choose whoever you'd like to to reach out to directly. All right, but we got on board with this as quickly as we could, obviously. And also want to remind everybody that if you're looking for more information and background, we did a special live with Igor and actually Anna, who if you go here, you'll see as well. Anna's up in Edmonton. Anna Karanacheva. She is also one of the lawyers that is involved in this pro bono initiative. And this video right here, you can see that we streamed about 8 days ago is all about some of the possibilities, the options, the realities. Igor spent a lot of time talking about what was really happening in the Ukraine, how this all evolved, and very, very insightful. And then there's a bunch of information and tips and strategies on what you can do. But guys, this is ever evolving. These measures, we do not have specific details yet, but we have a pretty good idea of the direction that they're going to be going. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I wanted to definitely bring that to everyone's attention. Okay, it is good to see you, Vishvesh. Thank you for connecting in, and let's just go through and let's dive right in. Good evening to you, Callum. Good to see you. And what we'll do now is, I know there's a lot of people starting now. If you want to post your questions, make sure that you put the Q's in there, okay? And that will let me know that you actually have a question versus just a comment. So, all right, so let's go back here and we'll just go to the beginning and give a few shout outs for people that are connecting. So we've got Monsoon Winter 1. Hello, good to see you. And we've got Fayaz, he's over in Brampton. And let's see, Jojo is all right. We've got someone who's tuning in from the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. That's excellent. So Jojo says, hey, Mark, how are you? New TR to PR again. Your thoughts? No, I really don't think they're going to be jumping into that like they did before. Like this massive one for international grads. I'm not seeing that that's going to be happening, at least in my view. They may create something else. I've talked about how with Express Entry, they have the capacity to tweak that. But right now, because of the massive volume of TR to PRs that they're working through with no stated processing times, and in my meeting that I had with them on Monday, I think it was, really, they said, hey, we don't post processing times because there isn't any stated processing times, and it will take as long as it takes. And you guys will remember with the levels planning that they have allocated a number for next year as well. But yeah, there's, I think, 40,000 or something that they've processed to this point, and they're working through them. And so there might be room, maybe, but I'm not holding my breath on that one, Jojo. Okay. Gustavo says, when am I free from a closed work permit restrictions? Post ITA, AOR, until becoming a PR, any bridging open work permits? Well, yeah, Gustavo, there are bridging work permits depending upon the permanent resident application that you're filing. And when you get back your bridging open work permit, then you're free, I guess, from your closed work permit. And understand that the closed work permit just means that you're only authorized to work for that particular company. And the fact you're even asking that question, Gustavo, tells me that you must be working for a pretty challenging employer. And so my heart goes out for you and many of you who are stuck working for employers who truly don't appreciate you. And well, maybe you're just looking for a new opportunity too. Maybe it's a wonderful employer, but you just don't like the job, and that's totally fine as well. But obviously when you become a permanent resident, you're a complete free agent. But when you obtain your bridging open work permit, the whole concept of open is that it's not linked to one particular employer. Okay, let's see here. Kush says, I'm a bartender and a student, so in order to get my PR, what options do I have? I will ring that little triangle right there, my friend. And oh, it's quiet. Oh, I can see I'm quiet. You guys probably can't even hear me. Let's see here. I think that's probably better. Wow, I'm surprised people didn't say, Mark, I can't hear you. You're too quiet. Hey, the audio technician, the content generator, the videographer, the overlay controller. I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all. So whenever you have these kinds of questions, I always do this because Kush, there's no way I can just tell you what options you have without getting a whole bunch more information. And so I direct people back over here to book a consult with our firm. And you can choose literally who you want to book a consult with. You can click on the 25-minute or 50-minute, whatever you want. And you can, Alicia's full today, but she's got openings tomorrow. So there's lots of time. We've got lots of capacity right now for new consultations. Okay, so there you go, Kush. So that's a triangle ring and book a consult on that one. Okay, let's see who's next here. Okay, John says, what should we do if our passports were held by IRCC more or less 6 months and we cannot travel in other countries like US because we have B1 visas? That is really, really strange. Where are they holding, John? To hold your passport for more, than 6 months is a huge issue. I've never heard of IRCC holding a passport for that long. I've heard them, waiting on making the request, but I've never heard of them holding a passport that long. So you have to give me a little bit more context with that one, John. Okay. Yes, Vivesh, good to see you. Okay, Monsoon, is the new family reunification program just for the Ukrainians or for everyone? These measures that I've showed you right here are exclusively for those affected by the Ukraine. So the measures that we're talking about, they're related specifically to the Ukraine. Now, in terms of family reunification, one of the things that in the Liberals platform, and this is something I'm going to point out, which really irritates me. So in their platform, their election platform, they held out that they were going to be moving forward with some form of a visa to help facilitate foreign nationals who are subject of a spousal sponsorship to be able to come. And, instead of just getting blanket refusals, but we've seen very little. In fact, they say, oh, well, we already have issued facilitative measures to help that. But in practice, as well as I do, if you're coming from India, you've got a spousal sponsorship in the queue, it is highly unlikely that they're going to grant a temporary resident visa approval. So I haven't seen anything from them. And that, I'll be honest, that irritates me. If you make a promise, then follow through with it. Okay. Divine says, good evening. Good evening to you too. Aisha says, hey, does sending a web form delay the processing of the application? Have been hearing this. That's garbage. The reality is here's how immigration approaches this. They say, if everybody sends a web form, then we have to allocate officers to that generally. And if they're spending their time answering all these web forms, then they're not able to work on applications in the same fashion. Well, I'm sorry, that's garbage. The reality is the people that are responding to the web forms are not the same people that are processing applications. So no, although IRCC loves to state that, that is not the case. Unless you look at things in this completely, 100,000 foot level that yes, all of the resources are all in this big pool, and anytime any touch point with any part of the organizations results in a use of those services that somehow could impact on that particular individual working for IRCC, somehow helping to grease the wheels or facilitate the processing of another application. Sorry, they have got to get their act together. This is a gong show, and IRCC needs to deal with all of this. Like, I understand there's issues, but my goodness, throughout this pandemic, other companies have figured out ways to work through it, to deal with it, and not suffer client service, atrocities, really. But IRCC, I'm sorry, they have not been doing a good enough job. And my patience actually with it is very thin. Even when we spoke to the minister, he said, look, it's really hard to find people. Well, yes, it is hard. And that's exactly what every other industry has been dealing with. But you guys, you need to do a better job. You need to raise the bar. So there you go. So no, short answer, Aisha, no, it doesn't delay. Your one web form inquiry does not delay the processing of your particular application. There's no correlation between it. Okay, Parth says scores 473 will expire January 23rd. Okay, so you'll probably have to re-put it in again. January 23rd, I'm not sure if that is like next year or January of 2023. Maybe that's what it is. Shall I wait for FSW to start or need to explore for OIMP or need to start preparing for study visa? Yes. Yes, you should consider all of those options. And that is what we do in our consultations all the time. And Parth, we're happy to connect with you, talk about the options, the real options that are available. because there's only so much that can be given in a live Q&A, and the basic information that you've provided, it doesn't even give me, a 100th of the information that we canvass in those consultations, so that you actually have advice that you can rely on. And I'll be honest, people, yesterday when I had 4 consultations in the morning, back to back to back to back. And almost every single one of those were people who had gone ahead, used a representative, maybe one that they have issues with. And not all representatives are created equally, but had used a representative or tried to file themselves, had run into problems, and were now coming after the fact to reach out, speak to me. And in 3 out of the 4 situations, I wasn't able to fix the problem. I was able to give them advice and direction on possibilities, but I wasn't able to fix it. If every single one of those had come to us in the beginning, every single one of those would not be in the situation that they are now. So individuals like you, Parth, that are, saying, well, what should I do? This is the perfect time to contact an immigration lawyer or a consultant that you trust, right? It's the perfect time, because they can help you to proactively manage the process and know where the pitfalls are and really strategize what options are best. Okay. So that's one little point I'll point out there. Okay. George says, just sharing with you, I received my PR card about 10 days ago. That's awesome. There's a cheer for you, George. Wow. I'm happy for you, my friend. All right. He says, about 10 days ago, total ITA, February 13th, 2021, eCoper, December 10th, 2021, and PR card March 1st. So you could see, guys, that in the case of George, he had to wait almost 3 months. December, January, February, beginning of March, almost 3 months. So take that into consideration, everyone. Okay, Agam says here, will applying for GCMS delay my FSW 2020 AOR file? No, it will not. Go ahead and do it. Figure out where it's at. Now, I'll let you in on a little bit of secret, you guys. I'll let you in on something here. And that secret is that they are really working hard on the spousal side to give real-time reporting as to where your file is in the queue. They're starting it with the family class. A couple of weeks ago, I was able to see a sneak peek of how it's really operating. And some of you will have already started to see this. If you have family class applications, they're slowly starting to roll them over into it. But I can tell you that this is the direction immigration is going. Oh my goodness, it's taking long enough to get there. But for every application, so that you don't have to do ATIP requests, so that you don't have to, you don't have to send web form inquiries. And that's the direction that they're going. It's not here yet, but it most definitely is on the way. Okay. So I know it's no consolation for all of you who are, who are stuck in the queue right now and are battling through all of this. But understand that it is, this is the direction that immigration is going. And the individual that we talked about, that was kind of like the client relationship management division, that's exactly what he was working on, is developing those tools across all the lines of service. Can you imagine, you guys? Imagine a world where you can actually see where your application is really at in the queue, and even estimated or projected processing times. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay. Hi, I'm from Algeria. Always in your live, brother. Will Ukraine crisis affect backlog and processing times? Thanks. Yes, it will. It will. The extent, we're just not sure. Hardy, same thing for you. Will the Ukraine crisis affect processing times? Yes, it will. The extent to which, we're not sure, but for sure it will. Karen says, did you talk to the minister about extension of status for postgrad work permit holders? When will CC draws resume? Yes, absolutely. It was a massive part of the discussion I had with him. He's well aware of it. I don't know what they're waiting for. What is the Liberal government waiting for? This, in my mind, this is a no-brainer. So I don't know what the Liberal government is waiting for, why they don't just announce it and give people that, like, remove that terrible stress that you're going through. Okay, there's no harm in doing this in my mind, none whatsoever. So I'm waiting for the minister to make that announcement. With respect to CEC draws, personally, I'm not expecting to see anything until mid-year, not till the end of Q2. So June, July is more where I'm looking at for the CEC draws, and that's why the work permits, the new policy on work permits really should take place, and there's no reason not to wait. Okay, Kwame says, or Manet says, hey, Mark, do you advise for applicants to submit missing documents by web form or wait for it to get requested first? Never, ever, 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 ever wait. Ever wait. Never, ever wait for immigration to request anything from you. Why? Why do I tell people this? I tell them because you want to control the way your application is being presented. If you are missing something, or if immigration has any doubt or question, the officer is going to pre-formulate their idea, whether or not they think you're eligible, whether or not they think you're telling the truth. If you leave it up to them, they will draw whatever conclusions they want. If you do not add the information in that you need to add in to ensure that their discretion is basically zero, then they will open up the window or the door or the possibility to rejection. That is a fact. So this is something I do in our office more than anything. I do updates. So I have an actual special program within our firm for updating files when people realize, oh my goodness, I forgot to include this, or I didn't disclose, which is my personal favorite, a prior US visa refusal. So we have a process for updating a file that's already been submitted, and you do not wait under any circumstance. We also have another process for a response to the PFL, the Procedural Fairness Letter. We think that maybe you did not disclose a prior refusal in the US. Therefore, you've got 30 days to respond. Yep, we do that. And we also do reconsiderations. And I can tell you guys that this has completely taken over all of the express entry that we used to do. And so a reconsideration of a refusal. The application's refused. I've got one we're going to submit this afternoon. And the application was refused because maybe they didn't disclose, maybe, something, and it resulted in a rejection of their application. So we're requesting reconsideration. In some instances, you guys, there is also a situation where they may make a finding of misrepresentation. That is bad. That is bad. The moment that happens, you must contact an immigration lawyer, not an immigration consultant, because they're not able to help you in federal court. You must contact an immigration lawyer to get this dealt with immediately. One of the consults I had yesterday was someone who had a spouse, a dependent, not in Canada. A study permit application was rejected and there was a finding of misrepresentation. Well, that situation has the potential to make even the principal applicant in Canada inadmissible. You cannot, absolutely cannot take that chance. So, Mark, do you advise for applicants to submit missing documents via web form or wait for it to get requested first? 100% of the time we update now. And that's something we can help you with. Okay. All right. Great question. Okay. Sedera says, applied for open work permit from Hong Kong late February. How long is the processing times? And should I do an upfront medical and biometrics or wait for IRC to contact me? In your situation, Sedera, wait. There's nothing really gained. These are taking a long time. Once again, when you have the Ukraine, you have the Afghan crisis, you have these things that are pulling on the time of officers, the other applications that they may or may not feel as pressing or as urgent. And I can tell you, Hong Kong is up there, but it's not as high as Afghanistan and the Ukraine right now. And so likely the processing times late 2022, February 2022, just a few weeks ago, I would wait, Sedera. Okay, let's get some more super chats here. So Peter says, Lucky George, I got my PR confirmation in April 2021, then applied for the PR card in July, no card yet, but got a message on February 1st asking me to resubmit PIC. Oh my goodness, Peter, that is brutal. That is brutal. I wish that I could tell you, my friend, that this was not normal, but we are seeing this kind of stuff all the time. That's pretty much what we're dealing with as a firm right now. All of the consultations that people book with our office, when they slide over and they connect into our law firm and then book a consultation with myself or Alicia or Susan or Chanel, I can tell you that the vast majority of these consultations that we book are all related to problems that people are having with all sorts of issues that, within applications that have already been submitted. So Very, very common. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, I'm just looking here. I don't see, so I see, maybe this is just a thumbs up. Thank you very much. I don't see a question associated with this. So Chidinma, if you can post that one, then I'll make sure that I respond to that. Okay, let's see where we left off with here. Amin says, will Ontario French Stream way of draws change just like previous human capital OMP? Anything is on the board. Remember with the PNPs, they can do anything. What do we see in Alberta? It's now the Alberta Advantage immigration program. They launched 2 new rural programs, which I think are really cool. And they're helped, designed for people to look at smaller communities and investing in those kinds of things. But they can change on a whim. They don't have to go through any massive regulatory process. These are creatures of policy. The provincial government says, hey, we're going to make this change, and they just do it. And programs that you expect are going to be there can be canceled. You've seen that. You look at Newfoundland and some of those programs where they have the ability to apply direct without a job offer. Many of those are closed. Saskatchewan used to be an occupation in demand list, and now the Saskatchewan application for no job offer foreign workers, which is kind of the way you can describe it, for international people that are applying to come with as skilled workers. Those programs now, like Saskatchewan, used to be the occupation. If your occupation was on the list, then you could apply. Now everyone's open, and it's basically human capital. But if your occupation is on the list, then you're excluded. So they flip, they change, they make, all the time. And I'm just in the process of finalizing the table of contents on myself and Andrew, our book that we are getting ready to write, which will be, it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be a resource material and academic resource book for, maybe Queens will pick it up. We'll see what happens, but that is basically what we're spending our time now, is sorting through all these PNPs, and they change so frequently, which will also make it a challenge. Okay. Sidera says my application is being processed and a background review is being done. Okay. Yeah. And the background, those depend on the country. It just takes time. Okay, let's see here. I think we hit all of the super chats. I just want to make sure I don't miss any. No. Okay, so continuing on here, start from the top and go down, and I can see there's a ton of questions here. So if I skip your question, hey, my apologies. Remember, tomorrow at 11, Alicia will be joining me. Okay, Ami says, good morning, Mark. Hello, my friend. FSW Outland AOR September. Please give us FSW candidates some hope. Hey, things are moving forward. I think you guys can see that. When you say AOR September, I'm wondering, is that September of 2020 or 2021? If it's 2020, I have to assume that we're seeing these coming through. So September, 6 months, unlikely, but they are working frantically, and I'm hoping that you guys will be flushed out by mid-year. That's kind of where we're at. Okay, Vishvesh says, is there any way to reach IRCC? Yeah, I am waiting for final decision since December for TR to PR, and they haven't even updated my biometrics. And there my wife is crying that she is not here since 3 years apart. Vishvesh, we hear this all the time. When it comes to TR to PR, if you submitted your application in December, right at the very, very end, if it was December of 2021, well, I'm assuming that everything maybe, you said that they haven't updated your biometrics. That doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't been moving forward if you've actually completed them. I don't know when you would have submitted it. Maybe it was May when it was that first time. But these are not a priority for them. And it breaks my heart to hear that you guys are separated. I couldn't be apart from my wife for, a month, let alone 3 years. It's so hard for you, my friend. And my heart goes out to you. But at this stage, the TR to PR are not a priority. In the call I had with immigration just 2 days ago, they reiterated that, well, they will get processed when they get processed, and there is no stated processing time, which is code for there's other things that are a priority, and the TR to PRs, getting through them quickly, are not that priority. Okay. Subam, I see this a lot. My employer seems to be not supporting my application for PC Tech PNP. They have a policy to wait for 12 months of my employment. Any advice? There's not much that I can give you. There really isn't. ultimately when it comes to those pilots, they're driven by the employer. And so the employer probably knows that if they support your PR, that you're probably going to hit the road. And that's a classic example of an employer, I think, that needs to do a whole lot better job to keep their people. But that's why. So if they have a policy for waiting for 12 months, it's entirely their prerogative. The only option you have is consider moving to a different employer that's more facilitative. But how much real loyalty is that employer building with you if they're not willing to support your PR until you've worked for them for a full year? Not much that you can do, my friend. Okay, so another chat pop up here. Okay, so now we have okay, we'll hit Simeon here. Okay, so Simeon says, I'm a dual national of the UK and the Bahamas. Okay, I have my study permit in my Bahama passport. Can I apply for my postgrad work permit in my UK passport, or do I need to have the postgrad work permit in my Bahama passport? My Bahama passport will expire in 2025. I'll be honest, Simeon, I recommend that you just keep going down the path that you're going in. There's nothing saying that you can't switch. There's nothing saying that you can't submit the other passport and explain in the letter of explanation why you want to shift to the UK passport. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, Simeon. But I would highly, I would recommend, just to keep things simple, unless there's a real clear reason, you can make that request for your passport. 2025 is a long time out. I wouldn't hesitate to go down that path. And remember, if your postgrad work permit is issued for less than 3 years, because your passport was expiring sooner than that maximum 3 years, if that's what your eligibility was, you can always apply to extend that existing postgrad work permit to the full 3-year period once you get your new passport renewed. So that's exactly how I would deal with it, Simeon. And but yeah, there's no legislative or act or reg or policy that says that you can't do that. If you do choose to do it, I would just make sure that you very clearly explain in an LOE why you're switching from your Bahama passport that has been driving your study permit to now your UK. All right. If you need any assistance, just let me know. Okay, let's see what we have next here. I'm going to pull this one up here. Okay, we also have another one here, Elodie. So I'm going to give you a thumbs up and say thank you. If you haven't posted a question with it, I'm just assuming it's just you're contributing to the cause, and I really appreciate that. But if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to post those, Elodie, okay? All right, let's see where we're at here. Just going to scroll back down. We do have so many questions, and yes, I skipped back around. Rosman says, we're reviewing the additional documents. Status holds from 26th of January, PCC and Schedule A forms resubmitted as above. Remedical uploaded and it's updated as passed. Is there any delays? Okay, so we are reviewing the additional documents. That comment, one warning sign that you guys need to be aware of is review required. That's a warning sign that you need to get your keisters over immediately and book a consultation with one of us so that we can go through, assess your file. And basically for me, I put my officer hat on. I go through everything forensically to figure out what it is that the officer could be having problems with. And I can tell you that 99% of the time I can see exactly where the issue is. And then guess what we do? We don't wait for them to send anything. Just like that question that I just answered, we literally jump in and do everything that we can to address it proactively, because we want to frame the way we want the officer to understand it so that they're not confused and they don't jump to conclusions and things like that. So, so when it comes to reviewing the additional documents, well, that's just a review. So I don't see anything unusual about that. Now you've 5669 forms resubmitted. You've already done that. I wish you would have reached out so that we could have figured out if what you're putting in there, because there's a reason they ask for these. If you've been in the queue for a long period of time, they will send a Schedule A request just to get updates because it's been like a year and they don't really know what's happened. But generally, if you do get a request to provide a new Schedule A, that's a significant warning sign that I would encourage you to slide over and book a consult so that we can figure out what they might be looking at. And then instead of just providing the Schedule A, we also provide a letter of explanation explaining the problem and how it really isn't a problem. that's how we deal with it. And it can make the difference between getting your application approved or rejected. Fiona, bon dia or bon dia. Great to have you here. Okay. Anastasia. Okay. Hello, Mark. Got my student visa approved. Thanks to Alicia and your firm. Thank you guys so much. See you in Lethbridge in September. Absolutely. I'm going to give you guys another applause. This is so awesome. Now, I want to let you guys in on something. And Alicia and I, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. So when we do these study permit applications, we put an unbelievable amount of work in these. There are aspects of the process where officers are literally looking for every single thing that they could possibly find to refuse. And like I said, a week from tomorrow, LJ's coming to join me to talk about approval ratings for actual applications by DLI, which is going to be a very interesting discussion. You're going to definitely want to watch this. It's unbelievably insightful. But in the case of individuals who are applying for study permits, they will look for every reason possible. And I'll tell you that with the Chinook system, we have seen that there are projections, even internally with the information we're getting from immigration, that there's up to 25% rejection rates. Okay. So Alicia had an experience with a client, and I'm hoping we can sort it out, but they refused her application and there was no reason that they should have. And I know that she's upset, and, and what's the natural inclination? I'm going to blame the law firm because you should have done A, B, C, or D. Well, the reality is there is the law and there's policy. And when we're submitting applications, we follow that. Officers who come back and say, oh no, I want this. Well, if the government website doesn't specifically ask for it, then that's a reviewable error. And that was the case with this application, a study permit application that should have been a slam dunk that Alicia helped the client to submit. And then of course the client went to, all their friends and basically said, okay, what happened here? What's missing? And they said, oh, you should have included this document instead of that one. And in fairness, there is always going to be situations where you could include more and more and more and more documents, but the requirements are the requirements. And so I'm hoping that we can resolve this and get the application resubmitted, but 100% that was a reviewable error. But at the end of the day, the client has an application that's rejected. And, even within our firm, never, ever are we ever going to say we are perfect and we don't make mistakes. But perception is 90% of reality. And, when someone gets something refused and someone else says, oh, you should have done this. Well, it's pretty easy to say in hindsight it's easy to see what you potentially could have included, but officers make mistakes. And so hopefully we can work through that one. Okay, let's see what we have next here. Who's up next? Femi. So Femi says, hey, Mark, AOR, August 2021, TR to PR. Yeah, ADRs, PCCs, and meds submitted August. Criminality and medical and progress rest all passed. Delay after file transfer. Should I ask for GCMS notes? Go ahead, request them. And you can see exactly where things are at. We've had many, many, many people that are basically stalled out. So Femi, do not be surprised if it takes many more months. So remember, they have queued up all the way quotas for even 2023 to process TR to PR pathways. And when, 90, the first 40 some thousand, 47,000 or whatever that all came piling in on day one, those are still, some of those are still being processed, and they were submitted on that very first day, May 6th, I think. So understand that this is a reality that people are just going to have to accept, that TR to PR with everything that's going on are not going to be a super high priority for immigration. Okay. So there you go. And I can't wait, Anastasia, for you guys to come. I know your husband's a videographer, and I am absolutely going to tap into you guys and get you to help me to take these to the next level. All right. Okay. Karen says, how long does Coper take post PPR handover? Delhi? This is something when it comes to like the passport, it really shouldn't take more than a month. Like if you've submitted your passport, it should not take more than a month, but okay. Okay. So Peter says, Our 4 colleges in New Brunswick offer 20 hours a week for a part-time as a student. Thanks, Mark. More power. I'm not quite sure. 4 colleges in New Brunswick, I think NB is what you mean, offer 20 hours a week for a part-time as a student. That's, I don't, I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. Peter, maybe you can rephrase that. Okay, Mark ADR says not applicable from past 25 days. When can I expect PPR? Email, Visa Office London, FSW Outland applicant. So it says not applicable from past 25 days. I'm not quite sure, Jeevan, if I understand what you're asking there. When can I expect a passport request? That's a tough one. Same thing for the visa offices overseas. There's going to be Ukrainian nationals piling through all of the European visa offices as well, depending upon where they've gone. But it's hard to say. Once you get your passport request, it usually should come in 2 weeks, but I'm telling people about a month. But in your situation, it's hard to say, Jeevan. I don't think I have an answer for that. Okay, next one. This one is Liz. Okay, so Liz says, what if we've received what if we have received to IRCC a new request letter saying that they are missing the info about proof of funds we sent 2 months ago? Do we need to send it again or contact them through the web form? Many thanks. Liz, if you're getting another request from them, I would respond to it absolutely with everything else that you included the first time. Without any reservation, I would do that. I just don't take any chances. Now they're working on the last discussion we had with the client service, client experience manager with IRCC, is that they were down to about 15 days processing and acting on web forms. But it's hard to say what Ukraine has now done to that again. So yeah, don't hesitate. The last thing in the world you want is to have had that request put in there that you've already submitted and then have them reject it. Now, this is the thing I want you to understand. If that happens, you've submitted something, they say they never received it and reject it, you contact us immediately. You book a consult with us immediately, and because that is a reviewable error. If you provided something to them in the time frame that they requested and immigration still refused it because they said they didn't receive it and you have proof that you submitted it, that is an absolute 100% reopening of that file. But it takes a strategy that you have to follow. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Mariana says, can I visit my home country for 2 weeks without worrying about having to get a PCC? Will my visa grant me re-entry to Canada? Thank you for all your hard work, Mark. Mariana, anytime anyone asks about whether I can leave or not and the impact on my application or police certificates or things like that, I need a whole lot more information to be able to give you advice. Under very rare circumstances, do I advise anyone to leave Canada if they have a PR application pending? And in this crazy world that we're in, we've seen it happen. Anything can happen. People can leave, anticipate that there's no issues. Then there's some resurgence of a new pandemic or something like that, a new variant of the virus. And then Canada closes the border to that country and you can't get back, let alone the issues about, do I need a new PCC? I have had many discussions with IRCC, and the problem is they're not clear on this issue. Some officers have said, oh no, a couple of weeks back, you're not going to require a new police certificate. And many people have probably experienced that. But I've seen other people who have gone back and then home, and then a year later, IRCC says, wait a minute, your police certificate, you need a new one because you had gone back and spent time in that country since that one was completed. So I just don't take chances. So in your situation, if you are going back, I would get a new updated one. I would. Okay. All right. Okay. Kabachi says, does the, 008 Schedule A in the generic form in the 5669 Schedule A filled by the applicant whose application for PR is in process or by spouse who will be non-accompanying? When you're filing your application, it depends on which application process you're submitting. Ultimately, a spouse can be non-accompanying and still be required to fill in a substantial amount of that information, whether they're accompanying or not. But I'm not quite sure. Obviously, as the principal applicant, if you're doing an application for your spouse, they're the ones that are signing off on it. So they're the ones that should know the content of each of their own forms. And if your representative is not having you check your form before they submit, fire them, terminate the relationship. Never, ever, ever should you let anyone file any application on your behalf without you having reviewed and signed off on it. Whether it's an electronic one through Express Entry, whether it's a form-based one, through the new applications for permanent residence, the new PR portals. Never, ever let anyone submit an application on your behalf, even your own spouse, without you having a chance to look at it, review, and obviously attest and sign off where necessary. Okay. All right. Next we have here is Canada mais que un sonho. More than a dream. Okay. I applied for the TR to PR pathway at 12/23. I still haven't received any updates. Do you think that it is a case to hire an immigration lawyer? Okay. So 12/23, I'm assuming for your application for permanent, the TR to PR pathway, I'm assuming that was May 6th. I'll be honest. I really, really would have expected to see something. The question though is at what stage you're at, my friend. So have you received your acknowledgement of receipt? If you've received your AOR, then you're pretty much in the queue with everybody else. At this stage, most of the people who filed that quickly, if it was day one, have and should have received an acknowledgement of receipt. Now, the weird thing about this, you guys, is that with the TR to PR pathway, there was a little bit of a glitch on their counter where two people, if they submitted the application at the exact same time, only counted as one spot towards those caps. So that's where they let in over 7,000, whatever it was, 8,000 more applications above that cap that they'd placed on international grads. Well, really, it could have been essential workers too. And so, so in that situation, it's really, really hard to say. I never, ever want someone to feel, and this is something that's really important, there are certain times when it absolutely is critical for you to reach out to an immigration lawyer and get direction and advice, hands down. But there are certain situations when no, it's not necessary. Like, hey, Mark, my application's been in the queue for 5 months. It's Express Entry. Can I hire you to do an inquiry for me? I don't take people's money for that because the processing times in the best of circumstances are 6 months. So it serves no purpose for me to take your money to do that. So, but if you feel like there's a problem, then absolutely. More than a dream. Canada. That's awesome. I love that handle. I'm going to have to check your YouTube channel out. But in those circumstances, it depends on if you feel like it's something that it's complex. And, at the end of the day, if you just want the peace of mind and security and knowing where you're at, you can do that. But at this stage, I think it's hard to say. I don't know if I would be super, super worried about it right now if you've got your acknowledgement of receipt. Okay, let's see who's next here. Let's see here. I'm doing pretty good at keeping track of stuff. Okay, so Sunny says, hey, Mark, in case you can see my message, very happy to tell you that I got my... Oh, we got another celebration. In case you see my message, very happy to tell you that I got my PPR recently after 2 years. Thank you for answering my questions so many times and all the help. I owe it to you. Thank you, my friend. That means a lot. This is why we do it. Okay. So this says, can you talk more about the work permit extension that you just mentioned? Thank you. So what they're referring to is the minister's comments that they are looking at all options to deal with this situation of people who were here on postgrad work permits, who were expecting CEC draws, have no pathway to permanent residence, and work permits expiring. That is the situation. Well, we have said repeatedly that the minister has hinted that this is on the table. At this stage, my submission to the minister is that he does it now and do not wait. If you have no intention, Minister Fraser, of proceeding forward and of actually reinitiating the CEC draws in the near time, within the next couple months, the logical step is to open up a new program, a new limited extension, and it's not really extension, but a new postgrad work permit option under public policy. Use it. You have the ability. I cannot see any reason why you would not want to do that. And the reason, Minister, is because individuals whose status is expiring are going to be accessing every other avenue possible to stay in Canada, whether that's applying for visitor status, and then that complicates things. Whether it's they're applying, if they've lost their status, sometimes they have to apply for a TRP to overcome the fact that they've fallen out of status. They're going to go back and apply for a study permit, which really serves no purpose at this stage. They're going to, they're going to try to get work permit extensions, but often they're just, LMIAs are not growing on trees, Minister. So my advice to you is not to wait any longer, Minister Fraser, and I'm speaking to you, not to wait any longer, but to actually issue it now, and then it will give you time to sort out what you want to do on the PR side. So that's my direction for the minister. That's my answer to this Facebook user. And I think personally, it's the natural response, the natural thing to do. Okay. Okay, Zoe from Mumbai, India. Love your lives. Big applause. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see if we've got any others. Okay, so we'll go back to Zoe here. And we've had a lot. We've got a couple more minutes here, and then we'll wrap this one up. Okay, next is, okay, Alice says, I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Mark. The best consult ever. With Mark on your side, it's always the winning team. God bless you, Mark. Thank you, Alice. That was very, very kind. Thank you. Okay. Sajad says, is around 10 months and no news normal for CEC Inland? Nothing is normal right now, Sajad. Nothing is. The reality is how long? So is it 10 months since you filed the APR? I'm trying to remember. I've had so many clients, right? And I can't remember exactly what we did together. But 10 months, no news, normal for CEC Inland. I have to say now that that is not unusual. In fact, even a little while back, it was 9 months. And so with everything piling on, it's possible that maybe they've reallocated and that 10 months isn't unusual. Sajad, there's nothing stopping you from requesting GCMS notes just to see if there is something in there, but there really shouldn't, because we forensically went through it, didn't we? Okay. Jacob says, if my postgrad work permit becomes invalid or expires, but my TRV is still valid, can I stay in Canada as a visitor, or I will have to reapply for a visitor status? Jacob, the TRV in your passport does not confer status in Canada. So that TRV only authorizes you to leave and then board the plane to fly back. If your work permit is expiring, you absolutely must take steps to change conditions to a visitor if that's the step that you have to take. But no, you absolutely cannot stay in Canada with the TRV imprinted in your passport that doesn't confer visitor status. If you were to let your postgrad work permit lapse, you would be out of status, and then you've got the 90-day period to restore your status. And if failing that, then it gets ugly. And that's immigration lawyer time, where you have to apply for a temporary resident permit to allow an officer, if based on their discretion, to restore your status as a result of, say, circumstances outside your control. But in your case, Jacob, 100% you do not want to take no action and just let your work permit expire. Okay, so it's all about maintaining the status. The TRV is only for leaving and re-entering and convincing the airline that you can board if you're coming from a TRV required country. Great question, Jacob. That was good. Okay, we've got Judy from Kenya. How is the visa processing time calculated? 2 weeks ago, it was showing 75 days. Then last week till now, it's reflecting 705 days for Kenya. It's pretty simple, Judy. All of those days before, it just simply wasn't accurate. And now that is an absolute disgrace, 705 days. But this is, at least they're telling people the reality in their own mind, and you can see where the priorities are. And so, Judy, for many, many, many months throughout the pandemic, they did not update to accurate processing times. They just didn't do it. And so now, and this is a discussion that I had with the minister, even though that is like, that's insane, 705 days. In the discussion I had with the minister, the very last thing that I said to him was that there's no conscionable reason why they would put processing times on the website that were not accurate. It serves no purpose for people. If the processing times have blown past your projections and your ideal of what you feel you should do, who cares? People deserve the right to know, because then they can govern their lives accordingly. And so when something jumps from 75 to 705 days, that's insane. But at their rate and what they're prioritizing and what they're processing, if that's accurate, at least you know, right? There's nothing worse than not knowing. Okay, Spider-Man's back. Spider-Man says, in the profile for CEC, I had a 1-year volunteer data job without pay in the US. If entered with correct knock, system will add points for it since it's legit, but no pay. How would you enter? Thanks. In your work history section, I would not include that. I would include it 100% in your personal history. Simple as that. And that's a strategy that I employ all the time in this sucker right here. So the Express Entry course that is launching on Monday, March 14th to the 18th, there is still time to register. And those of you who are immigration consultants, I am super, super excited to indicate that now there is CPD credit. And in fact, I've got here that you can just reach out to me, but the reality is I have now 5 hours of CPD credit associated with this course. So get in here, register. We've got a great group, and I've now shifted away from Facebook to our own hosted site, and it is going to be awesome. So the cart is closing fast, so take advantage of that. Okay, let's check and see if there's any last minute little chats that I missed. Nope. Okay, guys, I think we're gonna turn this one on here. A little bit of sound effect. I'll turn it down. It's there in the background. So we'll answer just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so let's see who is next after Spidey here. Let's see here. Hey, Mark, just sending love. Thank you, XY Notion. Appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. Is there anything new? We've got John there from Manila. Good to see you. Henry's tuning in from Nigeria. Yun Chen, hello. Good to see you. And Sean in the house. I love connecting with past clients. Let's see if there's anything else here that we could touch on. Yeah, this is a tough one too. OPME submitted study permit November last year. Haven't even received an update, but the eligibility review for more than a month now. Yep. This is so common. So common. Okay. Spider-Man is tuning in from Hawkesbury, Ontario, where there is no tall buildings. Well, that must be very boring for you. Nothing to swing from. All right. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap up with that. Once again, as we finish, I just want to let everybody know that there's 2 new courses that are going to be launched next week, Monday through Friday, March 14th through the 18th. We've got the Express Entry one. Get over there, subscribe, join me. And back up here a little bit, we also have here the spousal sponsorship, which I'm working on CPD accreditation as well for this one, March 21st to the 25th. The following week, get on over there, subscribe. This is my opportunity to really dive in deep and give you guys the help that you're looking for. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another live Q&A. Don't forget to join us tomorrow, Alicia and I, at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And also, one last shout out once again for those of you out there who are impacted by this crisis in Ukraine. Head on over here to the CBA, choose the lawyer. All you have to do is click on here to get free help, and you can fill out the form and we can help you. Okay? And shout out to Alicia, who is our point of contact right here with all the immigration law and the list of other lawyers across the country. And this list is growing, who are also here to help free pro bono services to anyone that's impacted. All right? Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.